Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you. Let's confirm we can see my screen. So if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, kindly type in hi in the comment section, please. So let's quickly confirm we're all on the same page. So if you can see my screen clearly and you can hear my voice, kindly type in hi in the comment section so that we can get this started. All right. Okay, what's happening in the comment section? Okay. Oh, Cash Killer. All right. Boy Fat. 213. Good morning. Badro Diaz. Good morning to you. All right. Hey, Carrie. Thank you for that confirmation. Good morning to you. And then we have 446 in the house. Good morning, 446. Hello, Bleta92, hello 158, hello 101. Good morning, everyone. And I'm excited to welcome you to another promising session on the Extreme Speed Live app. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and I will be your host in the next 1 hour, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us today. So with that being said, let's dive into the chart and see what is going on in the market. Well, the first thing we are going to be doing today, as usual, is that we are going to be looking at all the pairs we deliberated on yesterday. We are going to be seeing how well these pairs are doing so far, after which we are going to be making our decision for the New York session today. So with that being said, I will advise that you stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of these trading opportunities and ideas I will be dishing out during the course of the live session. So without further ado, let's dive into the charts and let's see what is going on in the market. So the first pair we are going to be looking at today is actually a commodity and that is the US oil. And let's do a quick replay of what our expectations are as at yesterday, and then we go into the details of what our plans is going to be like for today. Well, on the US oil, we have been on a very profitable trade right now as price action has moved over how many pips now? I think over 400 pips right now on our first position, and the second position we have let me see, over 350 pips running in profit, and I have a third position running at the beginning of this morning with over 50 pips running in profit. So for those who are taking advantage of this opportunity, kudos to you. Well done for being on standby to take advantage of that move. And right now, what is the next thing we are going to be doing? Obviously, we want to lock in some profit at this point, as we don't want to lose out on the profit we have gathered so far. So I will be advising that somewhere right above or around the $85 area will be looking very promising to move our stop loss on all positions at this point to lock in some profit and avoid being stopped out, avoid being taken out in a loss when we start seeing any bullish momentum coming in at this point. So as soon as you have locked in your profit right now, so what is our expectation? So as at yesterday, we were around here yesterday. Where were we yesterday? Okay, hold on a second. We were around here yesterday. All right. Okay, we were around here yesterday around the $87 mark. I told you I took advantage of this opportunity right from this area after I cited the breakdown retest of the $88.20 level, and price went to the downside. And I told you that if you had missed that opportunity, a breakdown retest of the $87 areas, 87.60 area is another opportunity to join the decline to the downside. And prices continue to plunge further to the downside. In fact, at the beginning of this morning, we were able to identify the structure around here as price action was actually caught within the consolidation phase, right within the $85 level and the $84.50 area before we saw the breakdown retest of the structure to same price going further to the downside. So with that being said, let's dive into the higher time frame, that is the daily time frame. Let's have an holistic view of what is really going on in this market, and let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with another opportunity to join this decline, and this is going to be good for those who missed out on the opportunity that we took advantage of so far. And also we want to see if the current structure with the current sell position we're taking will continue to hold, or we might be having a reversal pattern anytime soon. So in order to go into these details, we want to scale up into the daily time frame, and let's see what is happening on the higher time frame. So now going up to the daily time frame, what do we have here on the daily time frame? So let's quickly look at the structure here. And well, like I said yesterday, the most important structure is right within the month of September and the present moment. And zooming into that current structure, though we have a long-term bearish momentum here, and as a result of this, we had that bullish trend line, that is the green line on your screen, that has been holding buying pressure in the last 2 years now. If I zoom out, you will see how that level has been holding buying pressure. And the other structure we have here is also the $86 area. And if you look at how that $86 area has been a major determinant of price action in the past, we saw how this level was holding buying pressure at one point in time in the month of August. Then we saw here in the month of September, we saw selling pressure, which broke down that structure, though we had a breakout of the structure again in the month of October, giving us that impulsive move to the upside. We saw that impulsive move, price came back to do a retest of structure, evolved into a consolidation phase, which led into the breakout of the $86 area, retest of structure, and we actually enjoyed this bullish momentum right back into the $93.50 level during the course of last week's trading session. However, during the course of last week's trading session, we witnessed some selling momentum here. As soon as price tested the $93.50 level around here, we saw selling pressure around this area, evolving into a reversal pattern on our lower time frame, and we took advantage of that move to the downside. Now, in addition to the structure here, yesterday we were able to identify a trend line here that we said we shall be using as our yardstick for trading activities for this week. As you can see how that level was holding buying pressure since the last 2 to 3 weeks now. It has been holding buying pressure, not until during the course of last week's trading session that we witnessed the breakdown of that bullish trend line to signal a bearish momentum. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that price would at one point in time come back to do a retest of structure, which is likely going to incite a trend continuation in the direction of the prior leading price action. So right now we saw a situation, we've been enjoying this bearish momentum since yesterday. And one interesting thing here is that we finally have a breakdown of the $86 area, an area which has been a major determinant of price action in the past. So with the breakdown of the $86 level now, what is going to be our plans as we head into the New York session today? Are we going to continue to see a situation where price will continue to the downside? Probably we might have another retest of that level to send price crashing further to the downside. Or is this going to turn out to be a false breakdown in such a way that we'll start seeing buying pressure climbing right above the $86 area one more time to push price further to the upside? So these are the two scenarios we are going to be looking at on the lower time frame today, so that we can get ourselves prepared for the New York session. So let's scale down to the lower time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is going on there, and let's use whatever structure we identify there to take advantage of a trading opportunity. So going back to the 1 hour time frame, this is what we have. Let me delete this so that we can have a clean chart. So let's zoom into the current structure, and remember, we have a demand zone around the $85 level. As you can see here, since the beginning of the month of November, this month we are in, we saw how this level has been holding buying pressure. We saw the same thing happen during the course of last week's trading session. We saw buying pressure from that area, though we have price come back into the structure, and during the early hours of today, we witnessed this consolidation phase around that demand zone. And when I shared on my public platform, I said we could be having buying pressure here that will lead into the breakout of the $85 level to inside probably a retracement phase of the previous impulse leg, or we could be having a trend continuation pattern in the form of a breakdown retest of the $84.50 level, which is exactly what happened right now. And with the look of things at this point, we can see that the demand zone here had the $85 area has finally been broken to the downside, and price has continued to trade towards the downside. So for those who had missed out on these opportunities, that is the opportunity here, the breakdown retest of the structure at the $84.50 level, let's see if we are going to be having further opportunities to join that decline. So what I will be looking forward to at this point is if there is a situation where price comes back to do a retest of the $84.50 level, followed by selling pressure on our lower time frame, then we could actually join or add more position to the existing trade. So that is one scenario we are going to be looking at. Then the other scenario is, what if price does not come back into the $84.50 level? How are we going to neglect this trade? Well, let's scale down to a much lower time frame. Let's see what is going on here. If we can identify a trend continuation pattern there, then we could be thinking of taking advantage of that opportunity. So scaling down to the 15 minutes time frame, what do we have on the 15 minutes time frame? Now, interesting enough for us on the 15 minutes time frame, let me zoom out. As we can see here, since the later part of yesterday's trading session, we can see that price has broken down the structure at the $84.50 level, giving us a clue of a possible bearish momentum. So at this point in time, we noticed that as soon as price got into the $83.50 level here, we saw buying pressure around that area. So one thing I will be doing here is this. So should price does not come back into the structure, then definitely want to be seeing a breakdown of the structure, retest of that level to give us a signal to join the decline. So what I'll be doing here is to bring out my line chart so that we can have a specific point of connection. So if we bring out our line chart here, so we have somewhere around the $83.70 level as a yardstick for trading activities during the New York session today. So let's label this area the $83.70 level. So we should be looking forward to a breakdown retest of the structure to join the decline to the downside. Let's go back to our candle chart. So what we are looking forward to at this point is price breaking down the structure, retest of structure followed by selling pressure right below that level. Then we could join that decline to the downside from here. So for me at this point, my take profit target still remains at the $82 area, and let's see how price action plays out in that regard. Now that is for our sell position here on the US oil. Then we cannot ignore the fact that we could be seeing a buying momentum anytime soon, despite the fact that we saw the breakdown of the $85 level, which has been a strong demand zone since the beginning of this month. Like I showed you earlier, let's look at it again. So we had a demand zone here around the $85 level, and remember I told you this is a very strong demand zone which has been holding buying pressure since the beginning of the month, though we had a breakdown of that structure during the later part of yesterday's trading session around here. there is a likelihood that this might turn out to be a false breakdown that is taking out all the sell position around this area to incite another move to the upside. So for us to buy the US oil, we are not going to be looking for any buying opportunity unless price comes back right above the $85 level, with a situation where we see a retest of structure followed by buying pressure on our lower time frame to join the rally to the upside. So if this does not happen, we'll continue to hold on to our sell position and continue to look out for opportunities to add more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the US oil. That is my expectation on the US oil. If you have any questions regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. So what do we have here? I'll be taking the next 10-15 seconds to read through the chat to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next pair. So we have okay, Innocent Babe, good morning to you. Fine, thank you. I trust you are doing very well. And I see you all over the social platforms. Thank you very much for the support. And we have Buono. Good morning to you, Buono. How are you doing today? We have 663 in the house. Good morning. We have Hassan. Good morning to you. And Better 92 is asking for the oil. I just explained that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section before we move on to the next pair. So, okay, glad to hear you're doing well, Innocent Babe. You're welcome. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I guess it's appropriate that we move on to the next pair at this point in time. And the next option we are going to be having here is the US Tech. In fact, on the US Tech, we've been witnessing a serious consolidation phase here as the indecision continues to grow stronger at this point. Now, for me on this one, as at yesterday, what was our expectation as at yesterday? Look at what we were looking at yesterday. We were around here yesterday. We were around here, right within the channel located between the $11,800 level as at yesterday and the $11,720 area, as price was caught within that consolidation phase during the early hours of the new week. And one thing I said here yesterday is that we are going to be patient enough to look out for signals which might likely come in the form of a breakout or a breakdown of this channel. So a breakdown or a breakout of this channel to give us a signal of where price will be heading towards the new week. But one interesting thing happened here yesterday. We saw the significant breakout of structure. You might have took advantage of that move, and immediately you'll have moved your stop loss accordingly to protect your position against any sudden pullback. And as you can see here, we had this engulfing candle which took price right back into the $11,720 level to negate that breakout of structure, hereby turning this to a false breakout. So with the situation of things here, looking at what has been happening here since the beginning of the week, I'm of the opinion that the channel here appears to have expanded a little bit, as we no longer have a resistance point around the 11,800, but instead the resistance level has pushed a little bit into the $11,850 level. So for the sake of this session, we will be adjusting our resistance level to somewhere around this point, which is right exactly around the $11,850 area. So what I'll be doing here is to relabel this. Okay, so we have the $11,850 area as our new resistance point as we head into the New York session today. So with that being said, what is going to be our plans for today? Well, what I'll be doing here, considering the current structure here, considering the indecision that has gripped the market around this level as price action has continued to trade right within the 11,850 and 11,720 since the beginning of the week, hereby emphasizing that participants in this market, excuse me, still are yet to make a decision on where price might be leading to, as they're actually waiting for a catalyst that will be a decisive factor to decide where price action will be headed at. Well, for the US Tech, one of the events that is likely going to be affecting this pair is what I was able to spool out here on the economic calendar, that is the retail sales, which is coming up tomorrow. And one thing for sure is that most the participants in this market are actually waiting for a catalyst that will drive that price movement. So I'm of the opinion that we will be looking forward to the retail sale, which is coming up in 24 hours from now, that is tomorrow, and we don't know how that is going to be affecting the current structure here. But let us scale up a little bit to the daily time frame. Let's see what is really going on here. Let's see what the structures we have on the daily time frame, and then come back here to make a decision. So now let's scaling up to the daily time frame. What do we have here? Well, it is obvious that price action has been on a long-term bearish momentum. In fact, since the beginning of the year, we've been witnessing lower lows and lower highs. And as a result of this, I was able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bearish trend line you can see on your screen with the black line. However, something interesting happened in the month of June, as you can see, as sellers tried to break below the $11,000 mark, a very strong psychological level. The strength of the sellers wasn't strong enough to break down this level, as this was met with stiff resistance from the buyers. The same thing happened in the month of October. We saw buying pressure from that same area, though the buying pressure around that area wasn't strong. As soon as price got into the $11,700 level, we saw selling pressure pushing price further to the downside, hereby extending the demand zone right into the $10,600 level. So we have a new demand zone here. At least since the beginning of the month, we had a new demand zone around this area, and what we are going to be looking at this point is to see if this demand zone is going to hold, or we are going to be witnessing another situation where price might be going to the downside. So now zooming into the current structure here, zooming into what has been happening the last 2 months here, we can see how important the $11,700 level is. We can see how that level has been holding selling niche since the breakdown in the month of September. So we saw since then price has continued to trade right below the 11,700, hereby emphasizing the strength of the sellers at this point. However, during the course of last week's trading session, we saw another rejection of this demand zone, evolving into an engulfing candle, taking price right out of that structure, leading to a little breakout of the $11,700 level. And at the beginning of the week, we were saying, okay, since price has broken out of the 11,700, though the breakout is a little bit, it's a small one, not too big, and there's still a tendency that this could turn out to be a false breakout, because it's not that huge compared to the candle that led into that breakout. So what we want to be looking for at this point are two scenarios at this area. We want to understand what is going on here, and there is a likelihood that the setup we'll be finding here can lead into two possible scenarios. The first one is a situation where we could have a reversal pattern here, followed by selling pressure right below the $11,700 level on our lower time frame to send price coming back again into the demand zone. That is one scenario we want to be looking at. And then the other scenario is a situation where this structure here could evolve into a trend continuation pattern in the form of probably a bullish rectangular pattern, breakout retest of structure in our lower time frame, then we join the trend continuation to the upside. So these are the two scenarios I want to be looking forward to during the New York session today. So in order to understand what is really going on here, we scale down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see the structure that's evolving around this area. And one thing for sure is that the structure here is right above the $11,700 level. So what we are going to be doing is to scale back down into the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is going on around that area, after which we want to be making a decision in that regard. So now scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, this is what we have here. We saw a consolidation phase right within the $11,850 and the $11,720 area. And when we have a flat channel like this, the only thing that we can do here is to remain patient and wait out for signals, which is likely going to come in the form of either a breakout retest of structure to send price going to the upside, or we could be seeing a breakdown of the 11,720 retest of structure to send price coming back into the downside here. Now, if we look at this from a technical standpoint, this is looking more like a bullish rectangular pattern, as this is following an impulsive move to the upside. So we had this impulsive move, after which we saw price caught within a consolidation phase, looking more like a bullish rectangular pattern. And from a technical standpoint, from a theoretical perspective, a breakout of the structure is what the book will tell you. Then a retest to structure give us further confirmation to join the rally to the upside. So that is one scenario. But we cannot ignore the fact that this is an impulsive move as well, and the fact that the $11,700 level has been a strong selling niche for participants in this market for over a month now. And there is a tendency that we might be having a retracement of this impulse leg, that is breakdown retest of the 11,720 to do a retracement into our golden zone area, after which we want to be anticipating the second wave of that bullish momentum. So these are the scenarios we want to be looking out for, in as much as we continue to look out for buying momentum here at the breakout of the $11,850 level. We cannot ignore the possibility of a breakdown of the 11,720 retest of structure to bring price back into that golden zone area, which we identified around the $11,300 and $11,000 area. So what I'll be advising us here on the US tech, let's continue to remain patient and wait for a signal to happen, either in the form of a breakout of this channel or a breakdown of that channel. So this is what I'll be advising here. So we need to be very, very patient. Let's wait out for the structure to evolve before we want to be joining or taking advantage of any trading opportunity here on the US tech. So this is my view here on the US tech. If you have any questions whatsoever regarding what I've just discussed, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. So that is that on the US tech. Let's see if there are any questions. I'll be taking the next 10-15 seconds to read through the chat before we move on to the next pair. So what do we have here? All right. Okay, we have Franco. Okay, we have the Dina. All right, thanks. You're welcome. We also have who else here? Okay, 960, good morning to you. Let me activate my translator here, because I can see some languages other than the English language here. Okay. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, innocent babe, thanks for that information. All right, thank you. All right, okay. So we have you also have 1247 in the house. Good morning, everyone. All right, good morning to you, and you're welcome. We're glad to have you around with us today. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I will suggest we'll move on to the next pair, right? So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the EURUSD. And before I go into the details on the EURUSD, there is an event that came up this morning on the EURUSD. So we had the gross GDP for Q3 happened. Okay, it's happening in 30 minutes from now. So we're definitely going to be looking forward to that event. And whatever structure we see in the market right now will be reflecting the anticipation of participants in this market towards that event. So what we want to be doing today is to decipher what is really going on. Let's look out for the structures on the EURUSD to determine what our expectation is going to be like in the New York session today. Well, on the EURUSD, as at yesterday, we were expecting this bearish momentum to happen after the breakdown of the 1.03150 level. Remember, I told you that we had a consolidation phase here since the beginning of the week. Price was caught within this consolidation phase, and a signal in the form of a breakdown retest of the structure will give us a confirmation to join the decline. So I told you yesterday that I joined this position here after citing the breakdown of the structure. Price came up here, and then I joined right below this level. And remember, I told you yesterday that for those who are taking advantage of this position here, we want to be moving our stop loss to break even to protect our position against any sudden pullback that might happen at this point. And remember how important this bullish trend line was yesterday. We were able to identify this trend line, and we were saying that if price further breaks down that bullish trend line, for those who didn't take advantage of this opportunity here, that if we cite a breakdown of this trend line, retest of structure should be giving us further confirmation to join the decline to the downside, which did not happen, unfortunately for us, as price climbed up, took us out of the sell position at break even, and we started seeing that consolidation phase happen here again during the course of the early hours of today. And one thing I shared here on my public platform is that we might be having a situation where price might continue to the upside from here, and hereby respecting that bullish trend line one more time. And this is exactly what happened this morning. We saw this engulfing candle which took price right out of that structure, and at this point in time I'm currently running with over 80 pips in profit at this point in time. And for those who took advantage of this opportunity right above the 1.03 350 level, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. And at this point in time, let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with a second chance to add more position to this trade. And for those who actually missed out on this opportunity that we took advantage of this morning, well, let's see if we are going to be having another opportunity to add more position or join this rally. So before we go into the details of what our expectations are, and for the sake of those who are not part of the session yesterday, let's quickly run through an holistic view of what is really going on in this market, after which we come back here to make our final decision. And before we do that, those who are in this trade already, kindly move your stop loss accordingly. Somewhere right below the 1.03600 level looks most appropriate to lock in your profit, and let's see how price action plays out from now on. So going up into the daily time frame, what do we have on the daily time frame? Remember at the beginning of the week, we shared this setup here where we identified the fact that price has been on a long-term bearish momentum here. And I told you how I was able to connect a series of lower highs to give us that result and bearish trend line. In fact, we had two bearish trend line here. We have the major one, which is the black thick line on your screen, and then we have the temporary one, which is the dotted line on your screen here. And in fact, the temporary one is the one that has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the year. However, the most important structure here is the 1.03750 level. And why have I said this level is an important one? Well, look at how this level has been a major determinant of price action since the month of May. At one point in time, this was a buy zone for participants in this market. Fast forward into the month of June, we saw another buying pressure around this area, but the buying pressure here wasn't as strong enough, as it was met with strong resistance from the sellers along this area, which finally led to the breakdown of the 1.03750 level. And since the breakdown happened in the month of July, price has continued to trade right below the 1.03750 level to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point. Fast forward to what happened last week and the early days of this week, we finally saw price come back again into the 1.03750. And what makes this area a very critical point is the fact that it shares a confluence with the bearish trend line that we identified earlier. You can see the major bearish trend line here. So we can see that price is right back into that bearish trend line, and we are saying, because of this fact, which also lines up with the 1.03750 level, which is also a strong selling niche in the last 4 to 5 months now, price coming back into that structure, it tells us how important that level is. And at the beginning of the session yesterday, I made mention of the fact that we want to be patient enough to wait to see how participants in this market will be relating to the structure during the early hours of the week, after which we are going to be making a decision on this. I actually had two scenarios to play out here yesterday. I said if we have a consolidation phase, probably a trend continuation pattern, we might lead to a breakout of that trend line to incite a bullish momentum, or we could be having a reversal pattern followed by selling pressure right below the bearish trend line to bring price right back into the $1 area. But what we saw here yesterday was quite interesting, as we saw during the early hours of today, we saw a final breakout of the 1.03750. We can't say there's a breakout honestly at this point, because this candle still has, or is still just about 13 hours hold, and this candle could still turn out to be a false one to to come back down to the downside. So that is why I said for those who took advantage of this opportunity here, we want to be locking our profits because we don't know what might happen at this point. So now with the information we have gathered here on the daily time frame, let's scale back down to the 1 hour time frame where we took advantage of this opportunity that is running right now, and let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with a second chance to either add more position to our trade, and for those who missed out on this opportunity, we might be having another chance to join that rally. So we want to see what is going on around this area, as price is right above that bearish trend line and also right above the key level at the 1.03750 level. So in order to have a better understanding into what is going on here, we want to scale down to the 1 hour time frame and let's see what is really going on at the structure here. So back to the 1 hour time frame. So we have a situation here where price is already trading right above the resistance level at the 1.03600 level. So we saw this point here. This has been our resistance level since the beginning of the week, where we've been seeing selling pressure since the beginning of the week around this level. And finally, we saw the breakout of that structure during the UK session this morning. So one thing I want to say here is this. Are we going to be having a situation where price might come back into the structure from a technical standpoint whenever we have a breakout of a structure like this? Remember, we had this breakout of a structure here. There is a likelihood that price will come back to do the retest of structure, or probably the retest of this bullish trend line to incite a trend continuation to the upside. So let's keep that possibility open, as there is a tendency that price might come back into the structure or into the bullish trend line here to give us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. That is the first scenario we are looking forward to. Then the other scenario I want to be looking out for during the New York session today is a situation here. As we can see, the 1.0400 level, we saw a little consolidation phase around here. There was a little bit indecisive setup around that area before this candle broke out of the structure. So I want us to look at what is really happening here. Let's see if we could identify a structure around this level, after which we can be using that as a yardstick for any trading activity as we head into the New York session today. So in order to do this, let's scale down to the 15 minutes time frame. Let's see what is really going on around there. Then we can finally make a decision on what our plans is going to be like for today. So now the first thing you observe here, when we bring out our line chart so that we can have a specific point of connection, we have a resistance point here at the, let me call this the 1.04120, I guess. I think that is okay there. So we have the 1.014120. So we have a level sitting around there. That's the resistance point of that channel. Let's place it at the top. Okay, and then we have the support level of that channel right here at the 1.03900 level. Okay, so let's label it also for the sake of clarity. So we have it at 1.03900 level. So I'll be placing this at the bottom right hand side of my screen, and this is what we have here. So this is what we have here at the beginning during the early hours of today. So we saw a little consolidation phase happen around here, evolving into a trend continuation pattern in the form of a channel here, and then we cited the breakout of that structure. Well, this could have been another opportunity to join the rally to the upside. For those who took advantage of this, well, kudos to you. I actually missed this one, as I didn't see this. I think this happened during the beginning of the live session, so I didn't see this anyway. But if you are taking advantage of that move, kudos to you. Well, now that we have a breakout of the 1.04120 level, well, from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure, what do we expect? Of course, we expect that there is a likelihood that price might come back to do a retest of that structure, after which buying pressure here on lower time frame will give us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So this is what I will be looking forward to. We have a structure here at the 1.0142120 level, As we can see, we finally had the breakout of that structure, taking out all the sell position here. So let's see how this is going to play out. If we're going to be having a retest of that structure, and if that happens, we want to be joining the rally at the site of buying pressure here on our lower time frame, join the rally to the upside. However, if at any point in time, remember I told you that we have an economic event coming up in 15 minutes from now, that is the GDP coming up in 15 minutes from now. We don't know how we don't know what the result is going to be like, but definitely is going to be having a major impact on this on price action on this chart, and it could come in form of a huge spike. So because of this, first of all, lock in your profit. Those who are taking advantage of this opportunity, lock in your profit at this point. And if the huge spike happen, the huge spike will come in the form of a huge trend continuation to the upside. That is one scenario. And it could come in form of a huge plunge right back into the 1.03600 level, or the bullish trend line here, before the second wave of that bullish momentum happen. So these are the two possibilities that could happen here when the event happen. So let's get ourselves prepared for this. Those who are already having this trade running, move your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit. And if we have a plunge, if a plunge happens in such a way that price comes back to do a retest of the 1.03600 level, we want to be joining again at the site of buying pressure on our lower time frame. And if that does not happen and a retest of the structure happens, then we want to be joining the rally to the upside from that point. So this is the scenario I'm looking forward to on the EURUSD. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section before we move on to the next pair. I'm having less than 15 minutes left to run through the other pairs we deliberated on yesterday. So if you have questions, let me know while I move on to the next pair. So I will try to look into the comment section to see if there are any questions from time to time. All right. So let's move on to the next pair. And the next pair we are going to be looking at is the GBPUSD. And the GBPUSD was also a very good situation we have here on the GPUs. I also shared this on my public platform. And remember yesterday we were around this point yesterday. Let's do a quick recap of what our expectations were yesterday. So we were around here yesterday when I told you we saw this candle running here yesterday, and I said if we have a breakdown retest of the 1.17750 level, we want to be joining that decline to the downside. And when that happens, we want to be moving our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit. And this is exactly what happened. We saw price come back down, though we saw bullish momentum that took us out of this position at break even. So at this point, one thing I noticed here is that despite the fact that price broke down the 1.17750 level, I saw this huge spike, this huge rejection here. If you look at the nature of the wicks there, you can see that we had buying pressure around this area. And if we look to as far as what happened during the later part of last week trading session, we saw another huge spike around this area, buying pressure around this area, giving me a clue that we might be having a bullish momentum at this point. So to make things easier, we were able to identify this bearish trend line after connecting the series of lower highs here. Since the beginning of the week, we had the structure here where price action has continued to respect this bearish trend line, finding lower highs through the course of the week. So because of this, we connected a series of lower highs here, and we said if we have the breakout of that structure retest on lower time frame, we want to be joining the rally to the upside, and this is exactly what happened. So we saw the breakout retest of the structure, and price has continued to climb up to the upside on this one. So for those who are taking advantage of this opportunity here, that is the breakout retest of the structure on a lower time frame, that is the 1.17750 level, kudos to you for being on standby. The next thing you want to be doing here is to lock in some profits, protect your position against any sudden pullback that might likely happen at this point in time. Now, with this being said, with our position locked in at this point, what is going to be our plans as we head into the New York session today? Well, before we go into the details of what our expectations are for today, let's quickly have an holistic view of what is happening so that we don't lose track of monitoring of the price action. So now go back to the daily time frame. Let's see what is happening there. And then okay, so we are back on the daily time frame, and on the daily time frame, we obviously identify the fact that price has been on a long-term bearish momentum, a momentum which has been holding since the beginning of the year, and as a result of this, we had that bearish trend line figured out after connecting the series of lower highs here. As you can see, we saw our price has continued to respect that bearish trend line, but something interesting happened here during the later part of last week's trading session when we saw these higher lows evolved and culminated in the final breakout retest of the 1.1400 level, which also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line that has been holding certain pressure since the beginning of the year. So we saw the breakout of the 1.1400 level. We saw the breakout of the bearish trend line. What a beautiful confluence that is, and price has continued to climb up to the upside. Now we are at a very critical point in the market. The next very important structure that we have here on the GBPUSD is the 1.1800 level, and if we go to as far back as the month of July, we saw how important that level has been holding price action. At this point in the month of July, we have this level holding buying pressure, and then we saw price come back into that level again in the month of August. We saw a little consolidation phase happen here before the final breakdown of that structure happened in the month of August. And since then, price has continued to trade right below the 1.1800 level. And now the reason why this is a very important level is this. Price is right back at that structure. During the course of last week's trading session, we saw a situation where price came back into that structure, and it is necessary that we look at how price action will relate to the structure to determine what next our line of action is going to be like. So in that regard, we scale down to the 1 hour time frame to see what's really going on here, as we have two scenarios that could likely happen here. The first one is a situation where we could be seeing selling pressure right below the 1.18 area that could evolve into a retracement phase back into the 1.14 area in anticipation of the second phase of that bullish momentum that started last week. That is one scenario we are looking forward to, and the other scenario is that we're looking forward to a consolidation phase, probably a trend continuation pattern that might lead to the breakout of the 1.1800 level, which appears to be what have happened in the last 24 hours. So now scaling back down to the 1 hour time frame, let's see how we took advantage of that opportunity, and let's see how we could let's see if this momentum will continue to hold bullish momentum from this point. So now that we have the scenario here, we have the 1 hour time frame. Make sure you have locked in your profit at this point, and right now price is at the resistance level of the channel we identified here at the beginning of the week. Remember, we identified this channel right within the 1.18450 and the 1.17750 since the beginning of the week, and right now it appears we have a situation where price is tempting to break out of the 1.18450 level, and if we finally have a breakout of that structure, that should give us a bullish signal at this point. And one thing I'll be suggesting here is that we want to be patient enough to wait for further confirmation on our lower time frame in the form of a retest of the 1.18450 level. It could be a sharp rejection of that level, or it could be buying pressure above that area. Then we want to be adding more position to our existing trade. And for those who missed out on this opportunity here, that is the opportunity we took advantage of here right above the 1.17750 level. Well, a breakout retest of the structure could give us another opportunity to join this rally to the upside. And in as much as we are looking forward to that breakout of the 1.18450 level, we cannot ignore the fact that price might likely come back to do a retest of the structure that was broken during the early hours of today to incite a second wave of that bullish momentum. And if that happens, retest of breakout retest of 1.14840 1.18450 could give us another opportunity to add more position to this trade. And the reason why I said that we should not ignore the possibility of price coming back into the structure is this. Remember that we had this bearish trend line figured out, which has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the week, and we saw the breakout of that structure here, and there is a tendency that price might likely come back to do a retest of that structure at the 1.1750, or probably retest this bullish trend line that has been holding buying pressure since the beginning of the week. So these are the structures we are going to be looking forward to in the New York session today. So we have two parameters that will be guiding our action. So to make things more simpler for us during the New York session today, so we have the 1.18450 level. That is, price breaks out that level, we want to be looking out for buying opportunity from that level to the upside. That is the first parameter we are going to be looking at. And then the second parameter is a situation where price comes back into that bullish trend line that has been holding buying pressure since the beginning of the week. Buying pressure right around that area could give us that leverage to join the rally to the upside. So these are the scenarios we are going to be looking forward to on the GBPUSD. If you have any questions whatsoever regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video. So that is that on the GBPUSD. Let's move on to the next pair. Let me quickly read through the chart and see what is happening. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Innocent Babe. Okay, good morning, 247. And then we have okay, 960, thank you. What's up with the yuan? Unfortunately, I will not be able to trade the yuan today because I only have less than 5 minutes to left to do a recap of what we've talked about today. Please try to be part of the session earlier tomorrow so that you can drop it in the comment section so that we can squeeze it into our plans for today. Okay. All right, Steamroller is here again. Good morning, Steamroller. Are you a little bit late? Okay. All right, no problem. You're welcome. All right, Steamroller. So okay, Innocent Babe. Okay, we are going to treat gold. We are going to treat gold. Of course, we are treating gold right away. So the next pair we're going to be treating now is obviously the gold metal. And what do we have on the gold? Here we go. I shared this on my public channel this morning. And where were we as at yesterday? Let's do a quick replay of what our expectations were since the beginning of the week. Well, we had a scenario here where price was caught within the $1,773 level, as you can see here, and the $1,755 level since the beginning of the week, giving us a clue that there is an indecision in this market. And I told you that we want to remain patient, wait out for a signal to join whatever momentum price action is going to be giving us for this week. And I told you that we are going to be looking out for a signal either in the form of a breakdown of the 1,755 retest of structure, after which we want to be joining the decline to the downside, which never happened. And then at the beginning of this morning, I saw this impulsive move to the upside. Most people have taken advantage of this move, but I didn't. And one thing that caught my attention here is the fact that we saw that we've been seeing attempts by the buyers to break right above the $1,773 level. And in as much that buyers were trying to break above this level, we saw selling pressure around this area, pushing price, suppressing all buying potential from that level. And one thing I noticed here is that despite the fact that we saw selling pressure around the $1,773 level, we saw that the selling pressure here wasn't as strong, as it wasn't able to take price below the $1,767 level. And that gave us a sign that there is a likelihood that buyers might come in from here, because the selling pressure that has been rejecting the $1,773 level wasn't that strong at all, as anytime price comes back into the $1,767 level, we saw buying pressure from that area. So what I did here is to have my buy stop right around the $1,773 level, and what happened was quite impressive, as we saw this huge engulfing candle taking price right into the $1,784 level with over 1,000 pips running in that direction. So at this point in time, we already have a signal For those who had missed out on the opportunity at this morning, well, the market has presented us with another opportunity as we now finally have a retest of the structure, which is followed by a couple of buying pressure here on the daily time, on the 1 hour time frame. So I will be advising us that at this point in time, anywhere right above the $1,773 level seems most appropriate to be joining the XAUUSD to the upside as we finally have a breakout of that channel. So that is that on the XAUUSD. It's a very simple setup we have here on the XAUUSD. So I hope that you're on standby to have taken advantage of that move. And for those who had missed out on that opportunity, well, like I've said, above the $1,773 level is most appropriate to be joining that rally to the upside. Before I close this word, let's go up into the daily time frame. Let's see what is going on there so that we can be rest assured that the structure we have here is in line with what our expectations are on the higher time frame. So let's go to the daily time frame. Let's see what is happening here. And daily time frame loading. Okay. All right, I guess. Okay, so we finally have the daily time frame loaded. And on the daily time frame, I shared with you yesterday how we acknowledge the fact that we have been on a long-term bearish momentum here, and we had the bearish trend line to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point. And I also called your attention to what has been happening on the XAUUSD since the beginning of the year. And if we go to as far as the beginning of the year, we can see that we have a major key level at the $1,800 area. And look at how this level has been a major determinant of price action. Look at what happened here at the beginning of the year. We saw that the $1,800 area was a very strong demand zone, which has been a lucrative area for participants in this market to buy the gold metal. And we saw what happened again in the month of May. We saw buying pressure from that area in the month of May, but the buying pressure from this level wasn't that strong enough as it was met with strong resistance from the sellers, which finally led to the final breakdown of the $1,800 area in the month of June. And since the breakdown of the $1,800 level in the month of June, price has continued to trade right below that level. So we saw a retest of that $1,800 level, which also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line, and since then price has been trading right below that level. Now, something interesting happened during the course of last week's trading session as we finally saw the breakout of the bearish trend line, breakout of the $1,680 level to incite this bullish momentum that has been pushing price to the upside. And one thing you will notice here is that price is hedging close to the $1,800 mark area, an area which is a strong niche for sellers in this market. Like I showed you earlier, we can see since the breakdown of that level has been a strong selling niche for participants in this market, and price is hedging close to that area. So at this point in time, we're already in the buy position already. If you are still in that buy position, lock in your profit. And let's see how price action is going to relate to the $1,800 level. If at any point in time during the New York session today, price breaks out of that structure, that is good news for the buyers, as a retest of that level will be giving us a leverage to add more position to our existing trade. But if price comes back into the $1,800 level and we start seeing a situation where a reversal pattern is forming with selling pressure on lower time frame, then we might be getting ready to sell the XAUUSD at the site of selling pressure right on the lower time frame. And the reason why the reason why the selling pressure could actually come from that area is this. From a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure, there is a likelihood that price might come back to do a retest of that structure. So the tendency of a selling momentum here is still very possible, considering the fact of how that level has been holding selling pressure in the past. So if that happens, take profit target could be around the 1,680 or the bearish trend line here before the second wave of that bullish momentum will happen. So with this information we have gathered here on the daily time frame, let's scale back down to the 1 hour time frame and finalize our position on the XAUUSD. So scaling back down to the 1 hour time frame, this is what we have here. Remember, I told you that we already have a breakout of the $1,773 level. So for those who are taking advantage of this move right above the $1,773 level, move your stop loss to lock in some profit here, and let's see how price action will play out at this point. And if a breakdown of this level happens, that is, price comes back down, break down this level, don't think of selling yet unless price breaks down this 1,767. Let me label that area for the sake of clarity. 1,768, I guess. 1,768 level. So if price breaks down this level, then a retest could send price crashing to the downside. Then we could add more position at the breakdown of the $1,755 area as we head into the New York session. So that is what we are going to be looking forward to. And for those who missed this, let's see if price will continue to the upside here. So I want to scale down to the 15 minutes time frame. Let's see what is going on around here, and let's see if we could actually take advantage of some trading opportunity there or add more position to our existing trade. So right now we are on the 15 minutes time frame. Let me zoom out so that we can see things more clearly, and let me shift this a little bit to the left hand side. So right now, look at what is happening here on the 1 hour time, on the 15 minutes time frame. Very interesting reversal pattern structure that we can see here. So we had this impulsive move to the upside. Remember, at the beginning of the trading session today, we had this impulsive move. Price came back to do a retest of structure. For me, this is like a retracement phase. We start seeing buying pressure right above the resistance level, and there is a tendency that price might climb up to the upside. So to make things easier for us, I want to identify a structure here that we shall be using for trading activities during the New York session today. So let me use somewhere between this level and this level so we can adjust it accordingly when we bring on our candle chart. So we have this area. So I'll be labeling this area the $177 level. So we have the 1,777 level. So we have that marked out. So at this point, what we see here is reversal pattern here as price continued to reject the resistance level that was broken during the early hours of today. So what I'll be asking us to do here is to remain patient. For those who missed out on that opportunity, we took advantage of right above this level. Let's wait and see if we are going to be seeing a breakout of the 1,000. Hold on a second. Breakout of the 1,077, retest of structure. Then we could join the rally to the upside, or even an outright breakout is good to go, as price action will remain, as in we continue to monitor price action as the breakout of that structure happens. And when price continues to move in our favor, we also have another structure here. In fact, this structure here has a tendency of multiple entries. So we have another structure here at the $1,783 level. So we have the $1,783 level here figured out. So if we have another breakout of that structure, a retest of that level should give us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So this is what we are going to be looking at on the XAUUSD. I hope my explanation was very clear enough. And if you think there is an area you want me to shed more light on, please drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and I would be willing to be of help in that regard. So that is that on the XAUUSD. So let's quickly run through and do a quick recap of what our expectation has been so far during the live session today. So the first pair we looked at today was the US oil. And on the US oil, we have been on a very profitable run since the beginning of the week as price action continued to find lower lows and lower highs. So I told you to lock in your profits right above the $85 area. That is around this area. I told you to lock in your profit there so that we don't get caught up in any sudden pullback that might happen from that point. And this morning, I told you how I took advantage of this opportunity. I also congratulated those who saw this opportunity at the breakdown of the $84.50 level happened. And I said, if price breaks further down the $83.70, let me bring this up a little bit so that we can see things more clearly. So we have the situation here. So I told you that we had a breakdown of the $84.50 level, and it appears price has come back into that structure. That's taking me out of my position right now, and the $84.50 level was my where I moved my stop loss to, and I've been taken out of the position right now. I hope you've been taken out too as well. Let's remain patient and see how price action relates to the $84.50 area here before making a further decision here. For those who took advantage of this move at the beginning of the week, I told you to move your stop loss somewhere right above the $85 area to negate any sudden pullback that might happen here. So one thing I want to say here is this: let's see how price action relates around this level. We want to be looking out for selling pressure on our lower time frame. We want to see selling pressure. In fact, I want to see multiple selling pressure around that area to join a decline. And if I don't see any selling pressure here, I'm not selling unless price breaks down. If those selling, sometimes we might have a situation where we don't see selling pressure here, we just see an engulfing candle taking us right down to $83.70. If that happens, then I wait for price to do a retest of the $83.70 level before I join the decline to the downside. So that's how I want to be looking at the US oil for today. Then I said something here that we are very close to the demand zone, which has been holding buying pressure since the beginning of the month. And we saw what happened here at the beginning of the month. We saw buying pressure here. We saw buying pressure here last week. And then price appears to be around this level, though we had a little breakdown of that structure. This could turn out to be a false breakdown. We never can tell. So if a breakout of the $85 level happens during the New York session today, retest of structure should be giving us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside on the US oil. So move your stop loss accordingly, lock in your profit at above the $85 level, because we might be having a breakout of that structure anytime soon as we continue to observe buying pressure right above the $83.70 area. Now, moving on, we talked about the US tech, and on the US tech, we are still in a very huge consolidation phase here, and I told you that you want to remain patient at this point to wait for signals to happen. So we are within a channel around the $11,850 area and the $11,720 area, emphasizing the indecision in this market. And I was able to spool out something on the economic calendar, and I said participants in this market might likely be waiting for a catalyst in the form of the retail sales event coming up tomorrow. So we never can tell. So at this point, just remain patient, wait for signals. And what do I mean by signals? Signals in the form of a breakout to the upside. If a breakout of the 11,850 happens, retest of structure on lower time frame should confirm a trend continuation to the upside. And if a breakdown of the support level at 11,720 happens, retest of structure should be sending price right back into the 11,300. Between that $11,300 and $11,000 level, where I said we are going to be looking for buying opportunities to join the second wave of the bullish momentum that started last week. Then we went on to talk about the EURUSD, and on the EURUSD, we cited we had this bullish momentum running at the beginning of the week. Remember, we had the sell momentum running. We moved our stop loss at the breakdown retest of the structure. We joined this decline. Then we moved our stop loss accordingly, and price take us out of our sell position at break even. And I said if we continue to see buy pressure right above this 1.031500 level, that means this bullish trend line that has been holding buying pressure since the later part of last week might be a leverage to join the bullish momentum, which is exactly what happened here. We took advantage of this move right here, and I told you, for those who took advantage of this move right above the 1.03350, I told you guys to move your stop loss accordingly to lock in your profit at this point. Then when we zoom further into the current structure, when we scale down to the 15 minutes time frame, we saw another structure right within the 1.01420 level and the 1.03900 area. We saw a consolidation phase around here, and we saw the breakout of that structure again. We took advantage of this opportunity, and for those who missed this one, I said let's see if the market is going to present us with a second chance, which is likely going to come in the form of a retest of the 1.0420 level, followed by buying pressure here to join the rally to the upside. And I told you how we're expecting this event to come up. Let's see. This event is coming up in a couple of minutes from now. That is the GDP coming up, which is definitely going to be affecting the EURUSD. So I said we might be having this event might reflect on the chart as a huge move, and this huge move could spark a move outrightly to the upside. That is one scenario. Or it could send price crashing to the downside in such a way that price comes back to do a retest of the 1.03600 level, which was broken during the early hours of today to incite the second wave of that bullish momentum. So let's get ourselves prepared for this. And for those who are already in this trade, kindly move your stop loss accordingly to lock in your profit, as we don't know how this event is going to affect price movement on the chart. Now we went on to talk about the GBPUSD for today, and on the GBPUSD also we also have a bullish bullish momentum running at this point as price action finally breaks out of the 1.184500 level, the resistance point of the channel that has been holding since the beginning of the week. And remember, I told you yesterday we had the breakdown retest of the structure here. Position was closed at break even here. I shared this on my TradingView platform, where I said if price continues to as we started seeing buying pressure around here, I was able to connect this bullish trend line, and I said a breakout retest of the 1.17750 should signal a trend continuation to the upside, which is exactly what happened. We had a breakout of this bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the week, and with a breakout of a structure like this, there is a likelihood that we might be having a retest of that structure. If it happens, we want to get ourselves prepared, and if it doesn't, we get ourselves prepared as well. So we have this bullish trend line as our yardstick for trading activities for this week. So what I said here is that there is a likelihood that price might come back to do a retest of this bullish trend line, and if that happens, if followed by buying pressure on lower time frame, we want to be getting ready to add more position to our existing trade. And if price does not come that far, and we already sighted a breakout of the 1.18450 level, that is this breakout, we had an engulfing candle breaking out of that structure. Well, let's see if there is going to be a retest of the structure, that is price come back to do a retest of this area, scale down to your lower time frame, look out for buying pressure here, then you want to be joining the rally to the upside. So these are the scenarios we are looking forward to on the GBPUSD. And for those who are already in this trade, please kindly move your stop loss accordingly. I think somewhere below the 1.18200 area seems most appropriate to be moving your stop loss, and let's see how price action plays out in the next 24 hours. Then the last pair we talked about today is the XAUUSD, and on the XAUUSD I told you how we already have a buy position running already after taking advantage of this breakout of the $1,773 level, the resistance point that has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the week. So with that being said, we identified another structure here on our lower time frame, where I said that for those who had missed out on this opportunity here, we want to be moving our stop loss. First of all, move your stop loss accordingly, and let's look out for another opportunity above the $1,777 level. That is if we have a breakout retest on our lower time frame, we want to join the rally to the upside. And we also have a structure around the $1,783 level here, which served as a selling niche at one point in time. If price breaks out of that structure again, does a retest, then we want to be adding more position to our existing trade. So this is what we are looking forward to on the XAUUSD. And then I said something here that which is a catch here, that is if we get taken out of our position at break even and price continue to go to the downside here, well, I'll still continue to look out for buying pressure, as we can see how the 1,768 level has been holding buying pressure since the beginning of the week. So we saw this buying pressure here. So even if price breaks down the 1,773, taking us out of our buy position, I will still look forward to buying opportunity right above this area to join the rally to the upside. But if price breaks down that 1,768, taking out all the buy position around here, then I want to be seeing that as a bearish signal, after which a retest of structure followed by selling pressure might likely be a good signal to join the decline to the downside. So these are the scenarios I'm looking forward to on the XAUUSD. So I hope we get ourselves prepared to take advantage of any of these opportunities when they finally occur. So on this note, I want to wish you best of luck today. Thank you very much for being around. I really appreciate every single one of you. You guys have been very great today, and I look forward to seeing you guys same time tomorrow. 10 a.m. West African time, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. And let's come here again as a family and gather here to analyze, review what we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week, and analyze the market and get ourselves prepared for the New York session tomorrow as well. So do have a wonderful day. I love you all, and hoping to see you tomorrow as usual. Bye bye.